Alright, so we got a lot of new announcements from Tesla today, most of which are about the Model Y, but I'm also going to recap the Q4 earnings call. I did sit through the whole thing. That was a first for me, but I enjoyed it. But let's get into the good stuff first. So Model Y, the range is much better than we even predicted after the CARB certification. So this is not the range for the rear-wheel drive long range. I'm talking about the all-wheel drive long range options for both performance and just regular all-wheel. It is now an EPA estimation of 315 miles, a whole 35 miles higher than originally what Tesla predicted just 10 months ago, not even a year. And here they are saying it exceeded their expectations by 35 miles, which that's pretty crazy. Glad to see they were able to get it up that high. This makes it the most power efficient SUV on the market. And deliveries, we were pretty close on. They're coming in March. A lot of us were speculating February, but March is good too. That's pretty close. It's a good round year from the unveiling. So 1 March, they unveil the Model Y. They let people start reserving it. The following year, deliver it that same month of March. That's pretty cool. But what is kind of bizarre is the website seems to have eliminated the long-range rear-wheel drive option. So I'm not sure what's going to happen to the people who ended up reserving one of those. Are they still going to produce them? Maybe they just are stopping reservations of them. Or maybe just like the Model 3, they're deciding to not do long-range rear-wheel drive at all. That kind of sucks in my opinion, because I'm, for one, a person who cares a lot about the range of the vehicle, but not so much about the performance. So I really want to know the range of that rear-wheel drive option. Like, if they jumped it by 35 miles coming from 280, let's just say they jump it by 30 miles for the rear-wheel drive option. Does that mean that gets a range of like 330 miles? That would be insanely good. And it's honestly quite amazing how close the range of the Model Y is to the Model 3, given it has so much more cargo space. It's a much larger vehicle. It sits up higher. But you may notice that when you select the performance option for the Model Y, you now get this optional performance package, which comes with different wheels. It comes with the spoiler and everything, but it does bring the range back down to 280 miles. So that, I guess, prioritizes, obviously, you know, performance when you're on the track. Although there's no track mode specifically, that brings your range down quite a bit. But it doesn't cost anything extra, which is kind of neat. And now they've changed the Model 3 to reflect that as well. So once you select the performance package with the Model 3 performance option, it knocks it down to 299 miles of range, significantly lower than just yesterday when it was 310. But when you don't select that performance upgrade, which again doesn't cost anything, then the performance Model 3 is back at 322 miles, which is actually a lot further ahead than originally what it was yesterday, which is 310. And the website also says that the standard range options for the Model Y and the 7-seaters are still not going into production until early 2021. So I'm not sure if they just decided not to upgrade that because they don't want to make any promises yet, but I still have a feeling that those are going to be ready by the end of this year. I could be wrong though. We have nothing to go off of. That's just my guess. So they did mention that volume production started, of course, in January. So they are already building up Model Ys in inventory. Definitely explains the number of Model Ys we've spotted. Even this morning, there was one spotted in Canada. So they're definitely all over the place. And someone got a drone shot of a bunch of Model Ys from the factory that are just kind of lined up in inventory. So they're stocking them up for those initial deliveries, which again are in March. And now I want to talk about other things in the earnings report outside of just the Model Y. So in 2020, Tesla expects they're going to easily deliver 500,000 vehicles, which is amazing. Good chance they're going to exceed that. And they've also announced that battery production is starting in Giga Shanghai as well. So they're not just building cars there, they're also manufacturing the batteries there as well, which is cool. At this point, Giga Shanghai is equipped to build 150,000 vehicles a year, which is going to help a lot, especially with getting them towards that 500,000 cars delivered in a single year goal. And they mentioned that Model Y production has already broken ground at Giga Shanghai. So it's not going to happen right away. It's still going to take some time to get those assembly lines up. But yes, Model Y production will be starting in Giga Shanghai in upcoming months. And in 2019, Tesla generated $1 billion in free cash flow. So that means 2 quarters in a row, 6 months, they generated a profit. They didn't have to burn through cash. And after listening through this earnings call, I got to tell you, it's hilarious that Tesla got criticized for so many years for burning through all this cash and always spending more than they made. And now suddenly they're turning a profit. Now they're actually making money per quarter. And almost all the questions are about, why aren't you guys spending money on this? Why aren't you investing more into this? Why not utilize all the capital you have now and pour it back into the company? And they keep saying, like, we're just trying to be smart with our expenses. You know, we're spending as much money as we can in a reasonable reasonable way. It's another classic example of, Tesla can't win. If they burn through money, then they're doomed to fail. If they don't spend enough money, then they're doomed to fail. So I don't know what people want from Tesla. I just think they're doing great. There were also questions about Tesla insurance, in which they mentioned that in time they want to get to a point where using Autopilot more with your Tesla will actually lower your insurance rates, because they have statistics that suggest that using Autopilot is safer for the car. So there's a lot of regulations they have to get through first when they do that, but they want to hopefully in time get to a point where the more you use Autopilot, the lower your insurance rates are, which is awesome because I'd use Autopilot for convenience sake anyway. People also asked about full self-driving and why it's not feature complete yet, and Elon clarified that he said, I hope to be feature complete by the end of 2019. So he didn't guarantee it, which I mean, that's fair. And he's saying that they hope to have feature complete, which he prefaced by saying it's not a 0% chance that your car can drive you from home and to work and back. And he said that version of full self-driving should be ready in a mere couple of months. We don't know what that means in Elon time, but what he's suggesting is that, yeah, feature complete full self-driving does not mean that the car drives perfectly. It just means that there's a possible chance that in ideal situations, the car can drive you from home to work and back without any intervention. It doesn't mean it'll do it well, but it means that in certain circumstances, it will be capable of doing that, which I believe he's clarifying that, hey, full self-driving feature complete means that in a very, very early beta form, it will be kind of done within a couple of months, but that does not mean it's legally ready for a rollout or it's capable of robo-taxi levels of access. So I think people often put words in Elon's mouth when it comes to, oh, full self-driving is supposed to be here by now, because he did originally say that it wouldn't be legally ready until the end of this year. So people are a little hard on him. I'm just glad that Tesla is ambitious with their timelines, because it means they're expecting us to put the pressure on them and to keep them accountable to the timelines they announce, and no other company is being as ambitious with their timelines. And that means they don't really have the pressure to accelerate autonomy as fast as Tesla does. They also talked about the manufacturing costs of the Model 3 and the Model Y at Giga Shanghai versus in Fremont, and they mentioned that it was substantially cheaper to build a Model 3 and Y in Giga Shanghai, exceeding their expectations, and the profit margins for a Model 3 sold in China is about the same as the profit margin sold in California. So the advantage here is relative to comparative dollars. The Model 3 is quite affordable in the Chinese market compared to California, and that means that more people are buying them. Demand is great, and they literally just cannot make them fast enough. And they're expecting similar results with the Model Y, probably a higher profit margin vehicle. And Elon even mentioned on this call that once people actually get a hold of the Model Y and start doing teardowns, they're going to notice quite impressive redesigns that people weren't expecting, because it's a common misconception the Model 3 and the Model Y are basically the same vehicle, when in reality, there's a lot that's not on the surface that is going to be quite groundbreaking for the EV space. He did briefly talk about the Model S and X. He mentioned that the range that is listed on the website does not actually reflect the actual range the vehicles can get. He said that the long-range Model S is probably closer to 380 than 370, and that they will talk more about the Plaid powertrain in time. Their goal is to get the Plaid powertrain out before the end of this year, and that it won't be long before the Model S exceeds a 400-mile range. And he also described the Plaid powertrain as mind-blowing, and it felt like alien technology. So when it comes to raw specs and performance and range and everything, the Model S and X should be getting fairly substantial upgrades later this year. Of course, there were questions about Battery Investor Day, and they don't want to have a solid time yet, but Elon's guess is that it will be sometime around April, so they're pushing it into Q2 a little bit, which makes sense because this is a big day for Tesla, and understanding new battery chemistry and stuff like that is very, very important for them to get right. So I'm okay that it's taking a little bit longer. Makes me bummed because I was really hoping to see this thing soon, but he mentioned it several times throughout the call that Battery Investor Day should be sometime around April. So that's pretty much the bullet points. Obviously, there was much more to the call, but those were the things I found the most interesting that I wanted to share with you guys. Congratulations to you Model Y performance reservationers. You should be getting your car in just a couple of months. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.